Hello, I'm Eloise and this is my channel, and I realise there is a lot of yellow in this shot, but yellow is my favourite colour. It makes me so happy, so I'm going to wear it. In today's video I am going to be doing a quick, short, snappy video to show you how to keep those creases at bay. Creasing on the under eyes and around the smile lines and anywhere else you might get creasing is one of the #1 things that people ask me about all the time, whether it's people over on Instagram, whether it's my clients. A lot of people think that creasing, fine lines and smile lines are a negative thing. I personally feel like it means that you're a happy person, you're laughing all the time, you've had lots of experience. So I think we need to all change our mindsets about fine lines. Because if you didn't have any, it means you're a miserable bugger. And even babies have little fine lines underneath their eyes. The ones that are really close to your eyes just means that you've got eyeballs in your head, you know what I mean? I absolutely used to be one for disliking and hating on my fine lines and my smile lines, but it's just something that you have to accept. Your face moves, and when your face moves, it wrinkles and creases up. However, there are definitely some tips and tricks I can show you on how to keep those creases at bay and make them a little less obvious if that's really something that you're concerned about. So I'm definitely going to be doing a little series of these short, snappy videos. So I'm going to be doing one obviously on how to keep your creases at bay. I'm going to do another one on how to minimise the appearance of dark circles. I'm going to do one on how to make your lips look fuller. So definitely stay tuned for this little series. But anyway guys, if you're interested in seeing how to keep your creases at bay, then make sure you keep on watching. But before you do, make sure you give this video a huge thumbs up, subscribe and all that jazz, and let's crack on. First things first, before you do anything, you absolutely need to prep your skin. I've already done the majority of my skincare, but I haven't prepped my under eyes yet. If you are 25 and over and you're not using an eye cream, stop right now and go and get yourself one. I highly recommend the Dead Sea Spa Magic Age Response Eye Cream. It's brilliant. I've been using it for years and years and years. It is mineral based and just is really nice hydrating eye cream. Eye creams are so essential. If you've got dry under eyes, it is most likely going to be the reason for excessive creasing underneath your eyes or fine lines. So if you have a nice hydrated under eye, then those creases are less likely to show through, I suppose. So I have got, like I said, Dead Sea Spa Magic Age Response Eye Cream. It's got a lovely texture to it. It's not too thick, it's not too watery, and it doesn't disrupt makeup. You literally need the tiniest amount. And I just massage that between my 2 ring fingers. Make sure that I've got an even coating on both fingers, and then I just tap underneath my eyes and also on top as well. You have to be really delicate with the under eyes because the skin under your eyes is so fine, it's so easy to damage and to cause more creasing basically. So really delicate. You have the least amount of pressure on your ring finger, that's why we use that finger. So I leave that to sit there for about 5 to 10 minutes. So I usually put my skincare on as soon as I've got out the shower, and then I mooch about for a bit, and then I'll come up and do my makeup. So I'm just going to leave that to sit there for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll be back to show you the rest. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes now and everything feels nice and sunken in. If I put that eye cream on and went straight in with foundation, the eye cream wouldn't have settled into my skin for long enough. It would probably still be sitting slightly on top of my skin. And if I put foundation and concealer on top of that, it would mix in with the cream, not set properly, and then crease even more. So it's really important to let that sink in before you put any product on the skin. So I'm going to go in with an oldie but a goodie. I really like this foundation. It's the Bourjois Healthy Mix in the shade, I actually have no idea what shade I am in this because it doesn't actually say it on the bottle, which is really strange. But anyway, I'm going to use this. And I think for the purposes of this video, I'm going to do one side where I completely set everything in place and it's not going to crease at all throughout the day. And then on the other side, I'm going to not set at all and show you how much it will crease. So I'm going to take my So Eco stippling brush and just pop that all over my skin like I normally would. I'm just going to speed through this. One thing I will mention is I don't actually put foundation all the way up to my under eye. I probably stop just about here, just before the fine lines start. The reason being is if you put too many layers underneath your eyes where there are fine lines, more product is just going to sit in those lines. So I try to do as little product underneath my eyes as physically possible. Okay, so I've just done a little bit of cream bronzer and now I'm just going to feather through my brows to make sure they're looking nice and fluffy. So I'm going to show you two concealers, one that is my absolute ride or die that never lets me down, and another one that will crease unless I set it properly. So let's go in with the side that is probably going to crease. So I'm not going to set this concealer just to show you how much it would crease if I didn't put powder on it. So by setting, I mean using powder to set that product in place. So on this side, I'm going to use the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Hydrate Concealer in the shade C5. And then on this side, I'm going to use the Urban Decay, slightly different colour, but it's not just alright. The Urban Decay Stay Naked Concealer in the shade 40 NY. I'm actually going to put this through the centre of my face as well, just to balance everything out. So the placement of concealer is so important. So you can see I haven't put any concealer around here. Because concealer is a liquid product, it is going to spread out and inevitably go towards this area anyway. If we put too much product here, like I said earlier, it's going to sink in and it's going to settle in those fine lines. So I just pop it right in the front, primarily where my darkness is, because that's really what I want to cover up. You don't really have too much discoloration around where the fine lines are, so you don't need to put too much product there. So I really love using a sponge, one, because it blends it out really beautifully and smoothly, and two, because it picks up a little bit of that excess product so you don't have too much product underneath your eyes. So if you've got too much product under there, it's going to settle in those fine lines. That is why we didn't bring the foundation all the way up to the lash line. So I'm going to blend this side out first. And this is actually a really nice concealer if you set it with powder properly. So I use a Real Technique sponge and I dampen it. So usually when it's dry, this is a really disgusting old one. When it's dry, it's this big. When it's damp, it swells up and it makes the application of the concealer so much smoother. I clean these with a Dettol soap. It's an antibacterial soap. So I just wet this under the tap and I just rub the sponge over the top and keep wringing it out until all the product comes out. So really nice coverage on this side. It just, I know it's going to crease because it is so creamy and hydrating, but you really want a hydrating concealer for underneath the eyes. So the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer is a little bit too dry for underneath my eyes, so I much prefer the Conceal and Hydrate. The Stay Naked Concealer by Urban Decay is beautiful. It gives a really beautiful coverage and it's also nice and creamy. The Urban Decay Naked Skin is really hydrating for underneath the eyes. I really like the Sleek Life Proof Concealer, again really hydrating. Okay, so we've blended out really nicely. We've got a lovely coverage underneath there. It looks nice and bright and lifted. So I tend to leave that concealer there just to settle into my skin a little bit longer, carry on with the rest of my face and then come back to set it with powder. That way the concealer's almost sunken into the skin and then you can blend away any fine lines again, set with powder, and then you should be good to go. So I'm going to finish off the rest of my face and then come back and set. So let me just show you a little close-up on my phone cameras because it literally shows everything on how much I really do need to powder because I'm already starting to crease. So I just want to show you that I really do need to powder. If I come a little bit closer, you can see my under eyes are really starting to crease and just not look flawless, you know. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to change my mind because obviously you can see that's creasing already. I'm just going to set with a pressed powder on this side and I'm going to do my little trick on this side. So I use pressed powder and then a loose powder. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to load my brush up with my pressed powder. I just use a Maybelline Matte Maker one. Charlotte Tilbury do a lovely one. You can find a pressed powder anywhere. MAC do a nice one, but I've just got this one because it's cheap and cheerful, about £6 I think, and I like to use quite a dense brush for my powder, my pressed powder anyway. So I'm going to load my brush up, tap off the excess, and I'm going to grab my sponge, blend away any of those fine lines, and then press the powder. We're pressing it, we're not sweeping it. We really want that powder to get into the fine line. So I've just pressed powder underneath my eye and now I'm going to go around my smile line because that's where I crease as well. So I puff up my cheeks so that you open up that line so you can get the powder in between the line. And then on this side I'm going to do the exact same, but I'm going to grab my loose powder. So I love the I Heart Revolution Peach loose powder, and I also really like the L'Oreal Infallible Magic Loose Powder, but I'm just going to go for the peach one today. And I'm going to use a dry sponge. So we've been using a damp sponge to blend out the concealer. For loose powder, I like to use a dry sponge. Sometimes I feel like when I apply loose powder with a wet sponge, it almost turns into like a cake mix on the top of the sponge, and that's just not a good look. So I'm just gonna apply with a dry sponge. So I just get some powder in the top there, have my pressed powder ready on my brush, blend away those fine lines. This does seem like a lengthy process, but let me tell you, when you get the hang of it, it takes about 30 seconds and you know your under eyes are gonna last all day. So that's done. We're gonna press in that pressed powder. Again, we're not sweeping, we're pressing. So we know that that powder is getting right into those fine lines. We're gonna go around the mouth. And then we're gonna take our loose powder. We're gonna get the point of the sponge. Again, this is a Real Techniques one. Just a small amount on there, and we're going to go really close to the lashes. You could apply this with the same brush if you prefer, if that's easier. And then I also go around my smile line as well, just to make sure that that is locked in place. And just while that's sitting there for a couple of seconds, I'm just going to bronze up just a little bit more. I feel like I'm not looking bronzy enough. At this point I would have put my mascara on, but I put it on earlier, I don't know why. And now I'm just going to take that pressed powder brush and just sweep it away. And this extra step of the loose powder is just going to keep your under eyes from creasing for so much longer. And then all I like to do to make sure that we don't have that powderiness underneath the eyes, because sometimes that can cause a little bit of that crepey looking skin, I just like to take any facial mist. It just so happens I've got this Urban Decay B6 one. I spritz it all over, and that knocks back that powderiness. It gives that almost real like skin texture back to the skin. So I'm going to give it a good shake and then spritz it all over. And the reason I like this facial mist is because the mist is super fine, so it doesn't interrupt your makeup at all. And then I just like to press it in a little bit. So this under eye is absolutely secured and set in place. This one is set in place, it's not going to be secured for as long. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wear this makeup for a couple of hours, come back and show you how much this one will crease compared to this one. So it's literally been 1 hour, and look at the difference. This is the eye that we set with just pressed powder, and this is the eye that we set with pressed powder and loose powder. Hopefully you can see the difference. I'm gonna quickly film on my iPhone camera because it just shows up so many more sins. Can you see the difference? Look how creased that is compared to this eye. It's amazing how much a bit of loose powder really does pack it into those creases. It's only been 1 hour. So yeah, you guys, that is all of my tips and tricks on how to keep the creasing at bay. But of course, please remember that fine lines and laughter lines and creasing is a sign of being happy and laughing a lot. And I just think we put too much pressure on ourselves to have the most flawless, smooth looking skin when really no one does. So that is one thing I've definitely had to overcome, the fact that my face creases, because I'm very expressive and I'm always smiling and I'm always laughing. Of course I have down days and whatever, but creasing is a sign of moving your face, and that is literally it. And fine lines, I've got them and I'm 23 years old, so if you're older than me, don't worry about it. You've got facial expression, so be grateful for that. So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you give it a huge thumbs up, subscribe and all that jazz. I'm Eloise, this is my channel, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.